Hello everyone, this is Jimmy Cultist. Today we're going to be doing a video about dramatic lighting in Dreams for cutscenes and static scenes. And a fellow in our comments, I believe, requested this, so I'm going to try to shine some light on this situation. To start with, you're going to need a sun and sky tool. Just stamp it out right there. And you're going to need a grade and effects tool. Just stamp it out right there. One of the things you're going to want to work with first is the background and the sunlight. If you want like a serene day or something, like a summer's day, you can go for this kind of bluey stuff, maybe turn up the brightness. Could also be a foggy, overcast day. Really depends on the sunlight. But doing sunlight is really very basic. It's not often dramatic either, so that's one approach you can go with. Also, if you want it to be sort of a Romeo and Juliet thing, just turn up the bloom really high, and then you've got this sort of romantic filter. And the lens flare for even more effect. Make it like a J.J. Abrams film. Now, let's just reset those. I'm going to try for some more dramatic, spooky lighting to start with. We're going to make it really dark. This is like, spooky stuff. Because I know a lot more about that in general. Just turn down the sunlight and turn down the sky brightness. There are other ways of doing this, but this is just one of the best ones. Quickest. And take out a simple spotlight, which you can get in, the camera and effects section of the tools, I believe it is. Yeah, camera and lighting, you can get it there. With this, you can control the fade of the beam. If you want like a really contrasty, like a flashlight, sharp edges to it, you can just turn down the fade angle to 0, or you can turn it up to 100 for really faded edges on the beam. Also depends on the brightness. You can widen the angle of the beam right here. This will make it so it doesn't cast shadows. I don't often like to use this because it's not very dramatic not to have shadows, but that's an option. Now we're going to go for lighting. With horrific lighting, it's often good to have colder tones like white or blue, but you can occasionally go for warm tones like red if you're interested. Also turn down the brightness, it needs to be sort of dim. A quick and easy way to create a kind of creepy image is just to take the light and put it underneath the puppet, like so. Kind of like those old Universal monster movies. Let's turn down his hair just a little bit. Make it less waxy. There. He looks kind of spooky. Another thing you can do is you can backlight him to add to the effect, There you've got something super spooky. And you can use colder colors to contrast. Blue on white, that looks pretty good. Or if you want to go really out there and take sort of a bold Italian approach, you can have super high contrasted colors like red, blood red, and blue. Or a dark purple for that kind of 80s style of contrast. Now that looks spooky. Let's turn this off for maximum effect. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now that's what I would do for spooky lighting. You don't always have to light them from below. You can light them from overhead, It's mainly about creating contrast and a silhouette of the creature. You want to accentuate form and all the dark spots when you're working with shadows. You want it to be high contrast. You can accentuate this to some degree with the Grade and Effects tool. If you change the contrast here, you can make it lighter or darker. You can also accentuate color with the saturation. Or if you want to go for that sort of, you know, modern Resident Evil desaturated look, you can go lower. You can get this. Lower saturation. I really wouldn't touch brightness much, not worth fiddling with. And you can kind of alter the nature of colors using these little sliders here. If you want to get kind of an infrared look or whatever. You know, just really mess around and have fun with these settings when you're lighting things. You can come up with a lot of good stuff just by wandering around through the effects. Grain filter, you know. All that good stuff. Anyway, now that I think we've kind of covered the basics of creepy lighting, so let's get on to, you know, more normal lighting. You want your background to be kind of dim, but not too dim. Let's try something a little bit more, you know, fun and happy, I guess. Like, just pretend this guy isn't ugly. Pretend he's Mario or something. Okay. I think we got that. Another thing you can do is delete the floor if you want to, you know, take pictures for assets. Just get rid of the little sculpts below, it's not really necessary. We're going to go for a fun sort of Mario-esque. It's going to be difficult to do with this ugly fellow, but we're going to try it out. Just get some very bright, you know, happy colors. Often with the more light-hearted stuff, it's having more light and less shadows. Like, just put him in a fun, happy pose too. Like he's enjoying life. He's having so much fun. See, look at that. How could you not have fun when you look like this? He's swinging from the trees. And open his mouth just for that extra level of glee. But yeah, this is like a good way. Just like, use brighter, like, cold lighting on one side and orange lighting on another. Generally makes things happy. A bright blue background. You can also go for a more desaturated background. You can go brighter or darker. Darker tends to make it look more creepy, but you know, you can try a lot of different stuff. Here's him at the beach. Yeah, he looks happy. Anyway, let me think of a few other things that you could test out with this character. There's also like a kind of, I don't really know what to call it. It's not exactly horrific lighting, but it's sort of like action lighting. Where like you go for really high contrast, sort of like if you're making a game like Call of Duty or something, you know, you go for like these bright whites. Let's give him a Call of Duty, you know, make him look serious. We don't have any guns for him, so we're just going to pretend that he's holding a gun. We'll give him one real quick, yeah. Here's a gun. Such as it is. He's just carrying a whole howitzer in his hand. Anyway. For this, I find it's good to have lighting on either side of the creature and to create a shadow in the middle. Also darken down the background a bit. Up the contrast for this kind of lighting, this dramatic action lighting. They pushed him too far, and now he wants revenge. Also, desaturation is a common thing in modern video games. They tend to like less color, sort of. At least for war games and shooters and such. You could change the tone a bit, maybe go for a sepia tone. For more of a Gangs of New York approach, I guess you'd call it. Or there's completely black and white, you know. Nobody usually does that, but it's an approach. So yeah, it's like kind of action lighting. A central, usually I find it's just, you want to have a shadow going down the center of the character that creates a real gritty vibe. I'm not sure why. But I think that's pretty much all the things I can think of as far as lighting is concerned. I feel like lighting is a thing that you sort of get used to the more you mess around with it. The more different combinations you try out, the more, you know, you figure things out, and you start to understand that cinematography, filmography, I don't know what to call it, to accentuate form, contrast, and features. But that's about all the insight I have on this subject. Now, when it comes to these particular techniques, they're going to be a lot more useful for static scenes, like if you're making an art piece in Dreams, or if you're making, you know, a cutscene. I don't think they're quite as useful for gameplay, because you have to consider, you know, shadows, you know, spotlight overlapping that can run up thermo. Just look at the heat maps here. Well, they're not so bad yet, but if we added more spotlights, it could get pretty nasty and would cause gameplay slowdown. But just keep that in mind, that this is mainly for, you know, very specific and very special purposes. Like if you're making a cutscene, probably. Some people just make art on Dreams. By the way, this is a good way to get contrasting. It looks very nice, easy, quick way. Just have some cold light and some warm light on one side. Not sure if I covered that already, but just in case I didn't, there's some extra information. But yes, this seems to be all the insight I have on the subject, so if you enjoyed this video and found it informative, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you wish to support our humble channel, there is a link in the description to our art pal and coffee. In the meantime, goodbye.